Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be talking about interior design trends that are making a comeback. Some of this stuff is from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and they are now back again here in May 2025. So let's talk about them. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. We're gonna discuss what are the hot interior design trends that are back again. Maybe you've got these in your house and now you don't have to renovate and get rid of them because they're back again. So now you're trendy, look at that. You wait long enough and everything comes back. Let's get going. Okay, first up on my list is gonna be glass blocks. Now, this appears in different kind of eras in interior design. Like a lot of trends, they kind of work on 20, 30-year cycles because then everybody forgets that what they didn't like about them and then they bring them back again. You see that a lot in this video. And glass blocks are no different, right? Back in the 60s and whatever, but really they're most well known for being in the 80s. And that's really where you saw them. In my old apartment building, which was built in like 1995, we had glass blocks in the pool area. Very common. It's sort of giving a little YMCA. I don't know, that's what it feels like to me. And now they're back again. So these are used in bathrooms, they're used in kitchens. I've seen them as like sort of in indoor, sort of outdoor spaces, or even as a room divider it's used sometimes. And like at its core, I kind of understand why glass blocks make a lot of sense because they're providing sort of a physical partition between spaces, but it also lets natural light come through and it provides sort of a physical barrier, but it's a little bit opaque, but a little bit, you know, like it lets the light in. So it's not a wall, but it does provide some opportunity for privacy and dividing different rooms or different spaces, or even exterior walls. So you can actually, again, let the interior, the light come in. So it's like offers some of the benefits out of a window, but a little bit more privacy than a window, but definitely lets the light in unlike a wall. So it's an interesting sort of hybrid tool that's used a lot in design. I will say some of these blocks are a little bit more modernized, but some of them really just look straight up from the 80s. And I've got a little bit of PTSD with them just because they were incredibly dated throughout the 90s, and you know, they were sort of left in this sort of design graveyard for a while there, but they're back again. And now you're seeing them sort of mixed in contemporary spaces. I don't completely hate them, but I was there the first time. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes when you're there the first time for a trend, you're a little bit more skeptical that it's gonna be timeless this go around because you just saw how dated they looked last time. But you know, people are having fun with these. I will say mixing the glass blocks in with something like a lot of these wood tones, which I'm seeing really commonly used now, is really fun. But overall, in my personal experience, I wouldn't do this in my own home just because although I understand the functional benefits of glass block walls and I'm a little bit intrigued by them, in the end, I was there the first time around and I know how dated they eventually looked. So I'm worried some of these might not stand the test of time, but regardless, here you are in May 2025, they are back and they are trendy for now anyway. Okay, next up is gonna be this, I'm gonna mispronounce this, but I'm gonna say it's Alpi Sottass wood veneer, okay? I'm not really sure, I probably butchered that. So this is a style of wood veneer that is created by the designer Ettore Sottass in sort of 1985, and it was produced by an Italian manufacturer, Alpi, which is sort of where it kind of gets its name from. This is a very particular sort of look. It's kind of got kind of a, almost like an animal print, like it's kind of like a tiger print sort of wood veneer. And this, as I said, is from 1985. I wouldn't say it was extremely popular there. Like it's not as popular as glass blocks were. Like glass blocks were kind of everywhere in the 80s and into the 90s. This one, not so much, but for some of you, you might recognize it. It might be a bit of a blast from the past. And I'm starting to see it being used again in sort of contemporary spaces. So the way they actually make this veneer is that it's from a forest in Cameroon. So the wood is usually something like poplar, lime wood, something like that. And it's then shipped to Italy where it kind of undergoes this sort of stripping, dyeing process to sort of come up with this interesting sort of texture and pattern that it kind of has in its design. I'm seeing this used a lot in really minimalist spaces because again, which you hear me say on this channel a lot, when you have a more minimalist sort of design, in order to keep it interesting, using texture or pattern or color usually helps make something feel a little bit more interesting because otherwise it feels really flat, right? You don't want it to feel like it's a prison or like an art gallery, and so you want to kind of make it fairly interesting. And so seeing these paired in a minimal space, I do think makes it really sort of kind of interesting. I'm seeing people do it on kitchen cabinetry, which is a little out there. You can see it on media consoles or furniture pieces. And I think it's really quite I mean, it's not for me, but I do think it's got kind of a little bit of a retro sort of vibe. It's very interesting. It's visually very striking. And so I think for that reason, people really, really enjoy it because it definitely makes a statement. Personally, I wouldn't do my kitchen cabinets in it. This isn't necessarily my vibe, but I do appreciate that there are some interesting, people have rediscovered that there is an interesting way for designers to sort of pull in this like fantastically weird sort of veneer, and you can start to be like, okay, well, where's all the places that I could do? I could panel walls in this stuff. I could put it, you know, I could put it on a console. I could put it on a furniture piece, or I could put it on cabinetry or in the bathroom, or do you know what I mean? Like you can kind of go a little bit crazy with it. And as is oftentimes the case with these trends, someone has this genius idea to sort of look in the past, grab something like this interesting veneer and go, how could I use this in interesting ways? And then other designers are influenced by that, and then they start kind of using it in more interesting ways. And then that's how a trend essentially is birthed. And in this case, rebirthed. So I think this is a really interesting pattern. I don't think it's one for me, but I think it is kind of cool that people are playing with. There's always like fun wallpapers and fun veneers coming out all the time. And this one definitely feels like it's gonna have a little bit of a moment. I don't think this is gonna get widespread appeal, to be honest with you, compared to something like boucle or even the glass blocks that we actually just saw earlier. I think probably are more likely to make a stronger comeback than this, but I can't argue with the fact that it is interesting. Okay, so next up. Now this one is actually, I think, gonna be a lot more widely used than the other ones I've kind of just mentioned, and that is traditional rugs. Seeing a lot more beautiful pattern, sort of vintage rugs, Persian rugs being used in spaces. This makes sense because it aligns with a couple of really popular interior design styles, and that is sort of this cottagecore sort of vibe, or this sort of nod to traditional being used. I think, especially like richer, deeper, more saturated colors, right? So previously, when spaces were really Scandi, very neutral, very light, you just saw most rugs being fairly minimal, not using a whole lot of pattern, you know, potentially even just being one color, like a monocolored rug and something like cream or beige or brown or something like that. Still popular, still being used, of course. A lot of people like to go fairly neutral on their rugs, but a lot of people, as we're seeing more traditional, as we're seeing higher color saturation, using big, fancy, beautiful traditional rugs that have been around for a very, very, very long time and bringing them back again. So this is, again, something that if you love this particular style, if you love that sort of new traditional, I think this will work really well for you. These have always been beautiful. I would personally say that a vintage rug like this, a really traditional Persian rug like this, I would put it in the category of timeless. Sometimes I used to do a series where I used to do like timeless or trendy, where I'd pick a bunch of trends and say if I thought they were timeless or trendy, maybe I should bring that back. I would put this type of rug in the timeless category. Again, goes in and out of style. Right now it's in because, again, those trending interior design styles that I talked about, like traditional and cottagecore, maximalism even, eclectic, right? It sort of fits into all those sort of styles and it finds a home there. And so I think that it would work really well and it's sort of having a moment. But even when it's not popular, it's still cool. Do you know what I mean? Like it still always looks beautiful because these have been beautiful for hundreds and hundreds of years. So in my personal opinion, these are always going to be amazing. We're definitely seeing these traditional rugs being used a lot more. People are having a lot more fun with it. I think it's great. A rug is art for your floor, first of all. And so the more interesting and fun you want to make your rug, especially if it works with your own personal style, then I think it will be beautiful. And also a rug, especially in something like a living room, it just creates a nice platform for all the rest of your furniture to sit on, right? It's like that's where your rug goes, your coffee table goes, and it just really grounds the space. And so a rug, in my opinion, in a living area, unless you're maybe going with a high pile carpet or something, but if you're going engineered hardwood, if you're going concrete floors, if you're going laminate, if you're going tile, I do think a rug makes a lot of sense. It just grounds the whole space. And why not put something beautiful, like a gorgeous piece of art on the floor? Why not? Isn't that amazing? Why not go for that? So I think this is a beautiful trend that I'd love to see more of. It might not necessarily be the rug that I would choose, but that's because those styles are not particularly mine, but I love it for other people. Okay, next on my list is gonna be skirting. And I would put skirting, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about bedding. I'm talking like a bed skirt. I'm talking, some of the ruffles are a little old-fashioned-y and are not making a comeback, but I do think some skirting is really popular. Seeing it on the sofa is really popular again. Seeing it on little poofs and things, little ottomans is really fun. Definitely seeing more, even even some people, which sometimes I don't think looks really great if it's done overwhelmingly, but like, you know, you might have a little bit of skirting, for example, just to sort of cover an area where maybe got a little area where you've got kind of a broom closet or something, a little nook that you're just kind of, you don't want to see everything behind it. So you might just you might just hide it behind some fabric and you might just do some skirting there. All that is really, really popular. We've seen a lot of like scalloped edges. We've seen a lot of ruffles and frilly things and stuff been popular for a while, and skirting is no exception. It is definitely something that has made a comeback. Sometimes the reason I put it in the category of making a comeback is because skirting is not something necessarily new. It's something that's been around for a very long time. It feels a little, I would say like, it in many ways feels a little grandma, but now by having it introduced into more contemporary spaces, I think it's seen it sort of a little bit of, it's updated a little bit. This style for me reads a bit feminine and probably not something that I would do. I'm saying that a lot of things, you guys. I'm saying it's not my home, but good for other people. And it's the truth though, right? Like it's not necessarily my style, but as we always say on this channel, we can still we're allowed to like things and respect styles that are not our own. That's part of the game. Some stuff we don't like it because it's ugly and not good design, but some stuff there is actually, you know, it can actually be perfectly fine and wonderful for other people. And I would personally put skirting in that category. Great for other people, fun if you want to get, you know, creative with it. I would say a lot of the fringy stuff, just be really careful about like how annoying it is to clean. Like some of this stuff cycles in and out of trends because it might look good, but it might be woefully impractical or difficult to clean. And then people get tired of it and then they get rid of it and choose something else because they want to choose a more lower maintenance option. So depending on the skirting, especially if you've got little tassely thingies and little fringies all over the place, you might get really tired of it and it might get really annoying. But for now, it's really popular. Do I think this is going to be around forever? Some of it will, some of it won't. Again, I think a lot of this one depends on the practicality of actually being able to use and enjoy it for years to come. Okay, next on my list is going to be tiled countertops. This is another one that we saw in the 2000s that was really, really popular. Very popular with the Tuscan kitchen, the Olive Garden kitchen that I have mentioned many, many times. When you're here, your family, right? We love the tile countertop, so popular in the 2000s. This ultimately went away because like tile and grout presents both challenges with like bacteria depending on the ceiling situation in the kitchen, but also like uneven surfaces, and they also chipped really easily depending on the tile, and there was a lot of challenges with tile countertop. And so I think in the end it sort of went out in the 2000s, especially by way of the Tuscan kitchen, because that was its sort of signature move that we all kind of got tired of because we don't live in Tuscany. So that was where we said goodbye to tile countertops, but now we're saying hello to them again because they're back and a lot of people are having fun with them again. I think that there are practical issues with the tiled countertop that I've already mentioned, and I think that that might be its ultimate demise. But for now, people are getting really creative. Now, I will say that like sometimes what people are doing is they're doing a little bit of tile in the kitchen, but maybe not everything. So they might have like a solid surface in the rest of the kitchen and then maybe just do an island or a coffee nook or something and like a really gorgeous tile. Again, is it the most practical solution? No, but it's an opportunity to have fun with pattern and color in your tile and really play with it and have a good time with the countertop. I'm a little bit skeptical. Also remember that tile is a fixed element, so it's not something that's easily changed out. It's expensive to put in. Yes, you can tile yourself or you can hire a tile person, but it's going to be quite expensive. And if you do get sick of it, it's not as easy to swap out as something like a furniture piece. If you buy, for example, you want to get in on that skirting trend because it's back again and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy a cute little ottoman with some fringing. If you don't like it, you can always give that to somebody else in Facebook Marketplace and buy yourself a different ottoman. Tiled countertops is a much more different story. It's going to be very difficult to have to swap out. It's going to be a challenge. It's not something you can do and it's expensive to change. So be careful with this one. But I will say that some of the images of people having fun with tile countertops, again, these are not the Olive Garden special anymore, and they are really beautiful and they too look really cool because tile is like, there's just so many options of things you can do, right? Like there's just so much tile available. You walk into a tile shop, a lot of different tile options that you can really have fun with here. And I think that's part of the appeal. You can play with color, you can play with size, you can play with format. You can take one tile and do it in a herringbone, you can do it in a chevron, you can do it vertical, you can do it horizontal, like you do it subway style. Like, there's so many things you can do with tile. And I think that's where a lot of the fun is sort of being had. So I say have fun with this one. Proceed with caution because this is not something you're going to be able to swap out easily, and maybe save the tile for the bathroom. But if you want to do it in the countertop, fine, go for it. Okay, next up on my list is going to be stripes. So I would say that we have overall seen a return of pattern in the last couple of years. Again, dealing with maximalism, dealing with nod to traditional, more traditional spaces, kind of tying into the skirting like we're talking about earlier. And so a lot of these timeless patterns, polka dots, checkerboard, right? These sort of timeless patterns are definitely back. And I've talked about those other ones in previous videos. I'm not going to touch on them here. I just want to talk about stripes because stripes are definitely really, really popular. And these I would fit in the category again of timeless. I think these really simple patterns tend to stick around for decades and decades and decades. And yes, they go in and out of style, but eventually, you know, they all come back because there's only so many things you can do. And when they're really simple, they're just beautiful in their simplicity. So stripes can be different colors, right? So you can deal with, of course, a black and white, which is a very common stripe pattern, very high contrast, it's going to draw a lot of your attention into whatever you're featuring. If you want to play with less contrast, then you might want to choose similar colors. So a tone on tone can be really cool, right? You could just use different sort of tints or shades of a different color, which can look really cool. A little bit more of a monochromatic look. You could play with different colors, but perhaps they're sort of similar in tone. So something like a pink and a green, but maybe they're sort of similar in their saturation. And so there's going to be a lot less contrast. So it's going to be less noticeable. But I would say regardless how you do it, people are just having lots of fun with this. You're seeing it in furniture. You can see like a striped armchair, right? Bedding, really popular. I'm not even a stripes person. I'm not even a pattern kind of guy. A lot of people go crazy with pattern. I tend not to really love it, but even I have pattern sheets from Brooklinen. Do you know what I mean? Like I actually even just got into it because I do think that stripes are really cool. It is a timeless pattern. It always looks good. It's always beautiful. And I think if you want to have that contrast and you want an interesting pattern and you want something that feels really timeless, then you can't really go wrong with some of these classic, you know, checkerboards or herringbones or whatever sort of patterns that are out there, including stripes, which are super huge and definitely having a moment right now. Okay, so that's it for me for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Go check out this video here, which I think you'll find really interesting. It's also about trends, so I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot. Okay, bye.